All right, we're still going on about Tifa sports bra. This is the controversy that just won't die. Yeah, I can't believe I'm still making a video about this, but in the month after E3, by the way, I'm never going to do a crowdfund after E3 again because it's just too much misery. Like, we can't stop hot takes on YouTube, but I wish the sort of professional games press would not take this sort of bait because it just makes everybody unhappy precisely when we want to be excited about a bunch of new games we're looking forward to. Cyberpunk, Conan Chop Chop. What is it? That game 12 minutes. I'm really stoked about that. Like, yeah, I want to focus on the games and TV shows and movies that I'm excited about, not outrage. But a bunch of people sent me links to this video that I am not going to name because I don't want to give it any more attention, but that took a big swing at nerds who have waifus, and accusing them of their issues with changing anything about their nostalgia-soaked waifu as a fear among those who have more institutional power in society about the possibility of a change in the status quo that they find comforting or even morally correct. Now, I want to break this down on two fronts. One is that the truly nerdy in society feel like they have any institutional power. Newsflash, nerds don't feel that way. Painful childhood. I had one. Trust me, even as an adult, you have trouble recognizing that it ain't that way anymore. That's something I had to understand as a YouTuber. I had to stop thinking like a nerd and start thinking as, for lack of a better term, a cool kid, which I'm still not totally comfortable with, but I made a lot of mistakes when I didn't think that way. Still make them occasionally. Yeah, thinking I could talk about a Mortal Kombat character I really liked, who happened to be black. Yeah, big tactical error. Big, because no, I don't get a vote. Doesn't matter that I like this character from the time the game debuted. Doesn't matter that I played Mortal Kombat in the arcade. Identity politics being what they are now, you're not allowed to vote if you don't check certain identity politics boxes. And this does not factor in the intense connections people form with fictional characters, especially interactive fictional characters. And some of us don't realize what an attachment we have to certain characters until there's a change in those characters that make us realize how much the original version or the version we were aware of somehow, yes, did give us comfort. But that's not the same as a power dynamic. Hear me out. The idea of a waifu or the idea of a husbando in anime and, extended nerd terms, new nerd, I will say, because anime was kind of a phenomenon that is one person who's a longtime nerd, like science fiction fan going back to the 80s, like me. As they said, like sci-fi, Star Wars, things like that, that was their parents' thing. Anime was their thing. And so they're as passionate about anime and manga as their parents were about this sci-fi stuff because it's theirs. They discovered it. It's not something that is sort of, acceptable. I know the idea that anime isn't acceptable now seems strange, but there was a time it was very much a subculture. But this matters a great deal when we talk about the relationship that people have to these characters. And I do want to say, check out Professor Christopher Ferguson's Twitter feed. He linked to a study. I don't have time to break it down. I will. Maybe this is a Feedback Friday thing if you want me to talk about the study where they showed that playing as sexualized video game characters did not, in fact, create increasingly hostile or antagonistic attitudes towards women. But, you know, it doesn't... The connection that someone has to a character that just makes them feel good is very deeply personal, and it goes beyond identity politics. Here's an example of my own, so I don't put anybody else on the spot. Kratos. It's not that I see Kratos as a husbando. No. I identify with Kratos. Kratos, to me, is an extension of myself. Now, this makes absolutely no sense on its face if we look at conventional gender theory, that, oh no, I should look for female characters that validate me. No, I've never been that way. I was actually talking to somebody today about how Lion-O growing up, that was an extension of myself too. I just ginger character, cat, awesome. What can I say? I was a little baby furry. But there was something about that character that just made me feel accepted and made me feel like something, even though it wasn't real, understood me. And it wasn't that I wanted to be boyfriend and girlfriend with Lion-O. It wasn't that I had some sort of libidinous relationship with Lion-O. No, Lion-O was like who I wanted to be when I grew up, which is very weird with that character. And of all the characters in the 80s, that's probably the one I identified with most. If it weren't for Samus Aran and Gem and the Holograms and perhaps My Little Pony, my fictional role models would have been exclusively male. I did not connect to female characters at the time, even the ones that were designed to be, oh, you like He-Man? Here's a show for you. Have She-Ra. No, I had already gotten the good stuff. He-Man had like a familiar and animal companion that was a giant talking cat you could ride. Flying horse compared to giant talking green and yellow cat, nowhere near as cool to mine childhood sensibilities, okay? And it went on from there. There are just certain characters that I am extremely connected to. Lara Croft was another one. The experience of playing those old Core and Crystal Dynamics games pre-second reboot. There was just something about a female character who did stuff, who wasn't nice, who was cold, who was selfish, who had adventures because she wanted to. That really spoke to me, and I have an attachment to that. It wasn't necessarily the original Lara because of the technical limitations, though the Tomb Raider 2, like that a lot. But the Legend Timeline Lara, starting with Tomb Raider Anniversary and those games, the original Crystal Dynamics trilogy, those games just touched something. It was awesome. And there have been games throughout the years, much more games than TV shows or movies. I don't know why. It just, I don't connect to TV and movie heroes the same way, unless they're monsters. And then it's like, yeah, I see myself in you. And the characters tend to be male. That just tends to be the way things roll. I mean, when I was a kid and that 90s X-Men cartoon came out, I was all about Beast. Beast was my dude. I'm like, where have you been all my life? Character that validates my existence, because I felt like this super smart character that everybody thought was a freak. I just referred to myself as a character. Oh God. But where am I going with this? The desire to preserve Tifa Lockhart exactly as she was, I do not believe, based on the anecdotal conversations I have had, comes from a particular sexualized desire to make Tifa some sort of fuck toy. No, it is that Tifa was a waifu. Tifa is a waifu. And people connect so strongly to Tifa that they thought she was damn near perfect. and don't want her changed at all for any reason, because that implies she was not perfect just the way she was. The idea that you can improve on perfection is offensive to the people who thought that she was perfect just the way she was. And this happens to lots of different characters that people feel very strongly about. And when this happens, they get triggered and may not necessarily express themselves terribly well. And that's why I'm doing that. You cannot treat these classic video game characters, because let's face it, the original Final Fantasy VII was a bunch of chibi characters. They're kawaii. Even though, Tifa had objectively ginormous boobs in that game, there was nothing really sexual about it. It was, the embodiment of cute in a lot of ways. And I think that reassuring kind of safe feeling that those games, they were very whimsical and very cute. And I mean, Yuffie was uber cute, maybe a little too cute for me. The thing about Tifa is that she was such a, she just defied all conventions. She had that big sister or motherly body that is a symbol in anime, that is symbolized by large breasts, that maternal kind of thing. And she's such a loyal friend to Cloud that now I'm second guessing. Oh my God. Yeah, Cloud. She's such a loyal friend, and she was really unique in all media, but especially gaming, in that way of that sort of like just a really great loyal friend. She didn't have any deep dark secret, there wasn't any of that stuff. She was just a really good person and just a really good friend. And she kicked ass without having a hard edge. And I think that a lot of people who played the original Final Fantasy VII and really took it to heart, it wasn't sexual at all. It was almost like a guardian angel kind of thing. Or this is somebody who I wish I had a friend like Tifa. Yeah, I wish I had a girlfriend like Tifa, but I wish I even had a friend like Tifa. And this is something that when you start fighting about what's realistic, or you start changing things to avoid offense, people get offended because this character they thought was damn near perfect was now being held up to rather withering criticism and really nasty assumptions. And people take that extremely personally, because the thing about these bonds with fictional characters, they are extensions of ourselves in a lot of ways, because we know they're not real. It's sort of a safe play pretend land. It helps us become more in touch with ourselves and what we want and what we value and all that stuff. And so people take it very hard. And, it happened with the Little Mermaid thing as well. And I'm totally fine with people who have that connection to Ariel and don't like the change, because it's a change. Not because they have anything particularly invested specifically in her skin color. Just, it's a change. And she was perfect the way she was. Thank you very much. And I really think that's what's going on. In none of the conversations I've had with people who are especially invested in classic Tifa did anything even remotely pervy or sexual come up. They talked about, the lots of other things about the character and the symbolism of the way she looked back then. And that's very telling to me. And I'm making this video just so people can feel heard, because I'm not going to make a dent in the mainstream narrative, the primary narrative about this. I just want people out there who care about Tifa a lot to know that at least one person who happens to be a woman, but I think it's important that, I am a woman in this case, that one of us has heard you, we've listened to you, we get you, and we don't think you're a pervert. And as a woman, again, with gigantic boobs that grew this way naturally, it really, really disturbs me to watch the way people treat characters that happen to be well endowed. Quite frankly, and this is just a personal thing, when somebody seems really invested in making female characters small busted, I don't trust that person, because I don't think that person can ever especially respect me as a whole human being. They're just too hung up on this stuff. And again, modesty and sexual passivity and not wanting sex, not having preferences for sex, being asexual. Traditionally, these are considered desirable characteristics in women, good sex role adherence, and the women who own our sexuality and actually, there are things we like, there are things we don't like. Oh no, we're seen as fallen women. We're whores. We're sluts. This is how benevolent sexism works, in that it's not so benevolent at all. It seems to put women who are chaste and modest and who are conservative, who don't want to be seen. Those women are put up on a pedestal. And the rest of us women, well, we have it coming. You can't have it both ways. You can't, when something bad happens to us, you can't put a particular type of woman up on a pedestal above other types of women. And this is not like the personal preference that you happen to be attracted to. You can't do anything about that. This is about a moral opinion. You cannot say that certain types of women are better than other types of women objectively, morally, other than, the same moral standards that men are held to. If you are judging women more harshly or less harshly based on gender, that's sexism, and it's not right. And this kind of sexism is insidious. It really is. And so all these people thinking they're standing up for women's rights because, they're striking out against these perverts on the internet. No, you're not. No, you are absolutely not. Because we're not going to have equality of the sexes until women are allowed to be sexual beings without people coming to pieces. And the thing is, these gamers who like Tifa just the way she was, thank you very much, they've shown me, at least on the one-on-one basis in the dozens of conversations I've had with people, to put it conservatively, that they see Tifa as essentially a whole person. It's not just about wank material. It's not about that at all. They can talk about her character. They can talk about her moral virtues that aren't modesty or, covering up. They're not the problem. These people who insist on forcing women into rigid sex roles or else, this becomes a serious problem when women run for office. I mean, look at all the women who have been slut-shamed in various ways when they tried to run for office. They found a video of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez dancing in college and tried to make a thing about it. And I don't agree with a lot of her politics, but let's face it, that was a low blow. Pardon the pun. You don't do that. Because the only person I've ever known who people pulled out an old video of them dancing and tried to use it against them was Justin Trudeau. And that backfired. It still hits women. Like, I can't run for office because of my Google search. I can't. I have to accept that. I have to accept that limitation because I am a woman and these things still matter. And the people perpetuating the fact that I can't run for office, even though I'm politically engaged and I'm very smart and I have good ideas and I'm assertive and I have leadership qualities because of my Google search, the people perpetuating that crap are the people who feel very strongly that everybody's boobs should be nerfed. And they feel like they can attack people because they saw the women of Mortal Kombat and classic Lara Croft and classic Tifa. They saw those as symbols of unbridled female power. Not sexual, power. Yeah, sex is part of it, but sex appeal and power are inextricably linked in the male experience, and nobody complains about that. Only when it's women do we get on, oh no, she has to cover up. No, how else does a woman show she's powerful? By adopting male characteristics, by dressing like a man to look masculine? Yeah. And we don't think that's a problem? That's a problem. So this crap has to stop. If you have a daughter and you want her to be able to do anything she wants when she grows up, you have to nip this in the bud. You have to allow women the right to be sexy and wear revealing outfits and have fun and be seen. Because as long as that is a knock against you, women are not allowed to fully exist as whole people in the public space. There is no shortcut here. Now, if you're equal, if you don't think men should carry on in a certain way either, fine. You're being equal. You are actually engaged in equality of thought. But if you don't have a problem with, some of the things Brent Kavanaugh got up to in high school, but you still refer to any woman as a slut, that's unbalanced. And that's just one exception. That's just one exception. That's just a real life exception so people can see that men do get a pass for youthful indiscretions in a way that women don't, right? It just is. And it's wrong. And it's persistent. And the people that claim to be advocating for our benefit are the people that are perpetuating this stuff. And this has to stop. This has to stop if women are going to be able to be equal and leaders. It's the leadership thing that is super important, because we have to be able to stand out there. We have to do what I do and say things. People don't like what I say sometimes. I carry on. But women are trained from we're very young that you say something wrong, it's not just you made a mistake and learn from it. You're a bad person. That's what women are taught. Go away. You can never recover from that. It's just a humiliation that you will not be able to recover from, that is on your permanent record forever. And good Lord, don't ever behave in a sexualized way where anyone can see you. That can be used to blackmail you for the rest of your life. These are not things that men have to worry about. It used to be gay men did, not anymore. This is a problem. This is a problem that cuts across racial lines, though it does affect Black and brown women significantly more than women of other races. But this is an issue. And we have to confront this issue. And we have to stop being so complacent in, oh, yes, female sexuality bad. Yes, oh, no sluts, no sluts, no sluts. No! This is wrong-headed thinking. Because Ronald Reagan in his day was seen as quite sexy. He was a heartthrob. He did westerns and other kind of movies. He got to be president. Female movie stars, because they're probably going to be involved in some sort of sexualized content, can't take that path. They can't. Donald Trump gets caught cheating with a porn star. No big deal at all. But women, we have any sex lives at all. We're photographed in a bikini, or a lot of other things I've done on camera as part of the social experiment that is my life. No, this completely disqualifies us in a lot of spheres. Trust me, I have lived it. So, yes, that's strident. Yes, that was a lot of emotion. But somebody has to stand up and speak about this as somebody who has actually experienced the really nasty dark side of this idealization of modest women. Because let's face it, these reimagined characters, they're still impossibly beautiful. They still have more quote-unquote perfect bodies than real-life women will ever have. They are far from plain. They are still, new Lara Croft, still strikingly beautiful. Tifa, still strikingly beautiful, objectively. These are no more attainable ideals for most women, especially in any condition where you have to sweat. Like, that's the ridiculous thing. So I feel very strongly about this. If you like this sort of content that is funny and gamer affirming and passionate when it needs to be, support Boss Fight like a good bra. 3 days to go. Thanks for watching.